Welcome, everyone. How are you doing today, Tritons? Thank you for joining us today. I'm Ebony Williams, the Director of Virtual Experience and Peer Engagement Initiatives for Student Affairs, and I will be your moderator this evening. I would like to read the following acknowledgement to begin our time together this evening. The UC San Diego community holds great respect for the land and original people of the area where our campus is located. The university was built on the unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. Today, the Kumeyaay people continue to maintain their political sovereignty and cultural traditions as a vital member of the San Diego community. We are honored to share this space with them, and we thank them for their stewardship of the Mat Kuleyaay. In English, it would be La Jolla, California territory. For this town hall, we have a group of panelists, as always, that are excited to connect with you, who are here to answer your questions about Return to Learn program. We will attempt to answer questions, and please feel free to submit questions in the Q&A. Due to the limitation of our time, we will not be able to get to all of your questions today, but we will log the question as they come and post them on Return to Learn website, which is return to learn with no spaces.ucsd.edu. Before we get started, I'd like to mention the exciting pilot that our university is participating in for the state of California. The California COVID Notify app is a promising new way for UC San Diego to help rapidly control COVID outbreaks. California COVID Notify is a voluntary, anonymous exposure notification system that lets you know if you have come into contact with someone who has tested positive. We'll talk a bit more about how it works later in our webinar, but we encourage you to download the app and get more information using the QR code that is appearing on the screen right now. We placed the link in the chat for your convenience as well. And now, per normal, we're so excited to have Chancellor Pradeep Khosla give some opening remarks. Chancellor.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, and welcome everybody. Fall quarter is off to a great start, or at least I think so, and I hope you do too. Approximately 5,730 undergraduate students successfully returned to campus last month. They joined about 3,925 graduate students and postdocs who were already living on campus. Our staggered movement process allowed for effective physical distancing and mandatory rapid result testing. We conducted nearly 6,000 student tests. Since March 30th, 2020, we've conducted more than 20,000, I think it's more than 10,000 student tests. More than 20,000 student tests. 10 students tested positive during the move-in and 5,720 tested negative. The 0.17 positivity rate for our move-in population was well below our expectations, and we are extremely, extremely happy about that. The students who tested positive received clinical guidance and were promptly moved to isolation housing, and they will move into general housing once they recover and are no longer infectious. This month, we've had 5 new positive cases in our overall student body, which includes students on and off campus. All students have received clinical guidance, and those living on campus are being treated and recovering in isolation housing. The university currently has more than 600 beds available and ready to accommodate such needs, but we are hoping that we come nowhere close to using the 600. You know what else is working well? It is you. Because of you, everything is working so well. And I cannot tell you how proud I am of you for everything you're doing to help our campus and to keeping our campus community safe. When I walk around campus, I see you wearing masks. And if you're not, I point it out to you. And I rarely find somebody who's not wearing a mask. I see our Triton health ambassadors and student leaders offering encouragement and support. I see you staying 6 feet apart. I see you being respectful of your colleagues, professors, staff, and other students. So all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep up the great work. And because of all of these things that are creating layers of protection, we are a safer community. Also, remember to complete your daily screening. Keep that mask on while outside your bedroom. Keep your distance and wash your hands often. Get tested every 12 to 16 days or sooner if you're concerned. And download, as Ebony was saying, the California COVID Notify app. Nearly 15,000 faculty, students, and staff have opted into the app. And we are only one of 2 California universities, UCs, that are running the pilot. UCSF launched one and we launched the other. And I can tell you, I want us to be 100% opted in, because the more of us who opt in, the stronger the app becomes, the faster the notification, the more accurate the process. So please help us become a better, help us become a safer place by opting into the app. And let me just finish by saying, Return to Learn is working up to now, mainly because of you, and will continue to work again because of your commitment. On and off campus, you're connecting and engaging in new and creative ways. You're embracing what it means to be a part of this new hybrid Triton community, virtual and in person. So I say go Tritons, keep up the great work, and let's move on. Thank you, Ebony, and back to you.
Thank you, Chancellor Khosla. Looking bright on our campus. I had to go get my virtual shades. To provide a quick run through for the rest of our webinar and its flow, I'd like to welcome our host of this town hall, Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs here at UC San Diego, Alysson Satterlund. Vice Chancellor Satterlund.
Thanks, Dr. Williams. So first, welcome to Fall 2020. We're grateful to be here with you and do hope your loved ones and you are doing well. We're here today to answer the most urgent questions we are getting from our students and to also update you on the critical work that's happening on our campus in support of voter engagement. As the Chancellor messaged earlier, I want to thank you for continuing to mask when you're on campus and when you are coming to campus from off campus for in-person opportunities, also continuing to test and complete that daily symptom screener. And thank you also for remembering to physically distance from others when you're together. And as the Chancellor mentioned, please consider enabling the exposure notification on your mobile device and also download the UC San Diego app. It will ease access to updated information related to campus services, engagement opportunities, your My Student chart on Epic. It should ease testing and communication updates as well. I also want to acknowledge that Dr. Sosha and I know we have been bombarding you with email communication. We're working to communicate in more concise ways. We want to make sure that you're informed, particularly as our campus and our program and our services adapt to what we learn each day during the pandemic. Again, as we promised, we want to make sure that you feel supported. We know it isn't perfect right now and it won't be, but we're working around the clock 7 days a week alongside you to make sure that you're safer. And you are setting a national standard as change makers and how you're handling the circumstances. So with that, let me turn this town hall over to our Graduate Student Association President, Gwen, who will be interviewing several of us alongside her colleagues.
Thank you. Oops, excuse me. Thank you, BC Satterlund. This time I'd like to invite Heather and Andy to join us on our call. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming here and speaking with us today. Heather is the director of AS and Andy is a graduate student. I'm not sure in what year, I won't ask, but he's also the legislative liaison for local affairs for the GSA. So he works very closely with all of us. And here today, they're going to be discussing some of the efforts on voting that we have been partnering with the county and also with AS on. So Andy, the first question for you is, many students lose faith in the electoral process and don't feel like their voices are important. For you, why is it important that students vote? And what would you say to those who see voting as not enough or as pointless?
Yeah, to the kids out there, me included. So in 2016, according to the US Census Bureau, only 40% of 18 to 29-year-olds voted. And contrast that to people over 45 years old, 70% plus of them voted. So when I guess young people are disillusioned and jaded with the political process, it's because elected officials aren't really listening to young people because we're not turning out to vote in high enough numbers. And just to spark a little bit more interest in the political process on the local level. So what's happening, I just want to contrast like how I really believe that young people have this great vision for the future and they're just not channeling the energy enough to politics. So for example, when there's traffic, say you're driving north on the 5 to come to campus, I guess the solution for the past 100 years is let's widen that highway by 1 lane. And that's always led to more traffic. Induced demand leads to more people driving. So something that I've been really excited about is SANDAG. So that's all the counties from in the north, San Diego, and the south. They're proposing $100 billion to totally build out high-speed rail connecting the north down to the border of Mexico. And climate change, there's this old idea that the free market solves everything. I could go on for maybe an hour on this. The free market will solve climate change. And that's just not true, because you just need mandates and subsidies. And San Diego is starting a community power source. So we're phasing out SDG&E to provide clean power to San Diego. So anytime that you're really, I guess, pissed off and want to post on Instagram or Snapchat, also talk and research what's happening in your own backyard. Like these things, police reform, climate change, this is all happening in our backyards. And there are people running in San Diego that are really passionate about it. And then there's other people that really are still advocating these old solutions that leave me really uninspired. And I just really urge you to look at your local and state representatives, as well as your national, who I think I support. We don't need to get into that.
Well, thank you, Andy. So the next question will go to Heather. So we have a lot of first-time voters on campus in the undergrad and graduate population, and a lot of them have these common misconceptions about what the voting process entails. So what should students do to prepare for the upcoming election? And for you, how do you think the election will be different given that we are in the middle of a pandemic?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, because it is a really important question. A lot of folks have shared the perspective that a lot of times they don't vote. At the end of the day, it's not that they're not registered. It's not that they don't know it's election day. It's that they're intimidated by the things that Andy was talking about, these other things besides president, right? So we know, we probably know that there's a presidential race going on right now. And what else is on the ballot? And that's what folks feel intimidated by, especially our first-time voters who haven't been to a ballot box before. And then you've got this year, which is totally different. So as far as the process, there's definitely some opportunities to learn about the process and make sure that you know kind of what the steps are. But most importantly, you want to make sure that you are registered to vote at your current address. And we make that really easy at UC San Diego. We have something called Turbo Vote. So it's ucsd.turbovote.org. And this is a tool that as soon as you punch in your name and address will help you identify, are you registered? Are you registered at your current address? It works in all 50 states. So if you're an out-of-state student, you can use it for that. And it'll tell you what you need to do in your own state. And it'll also indicate where your nearest polling location is, things like that. So they can do that. Students can do that. They can also sign up. In California, our Secretary of State has a tool that's called Where's My Ballot? So if you go in, you enter your address and your email, then they will tell you exactly, kind of like an Amazon package, to be honest with you. They will tell you when your ballot has shipped, your mail ballot has shipped to you, and then you can track it and you can know exactly when it's supposed to arrive on your doorstep. And it goes beyond that. Once you file it, you turn it back in, it'll follow it through that counting process to make sure that it's been collected and registered as well. So those are some really cool tools that students can use. But then also there's opportunities to figure out what's on the ballot. So once they receive, they know that they're registered, they know they're registered at their current address, then they've got that ballot and what do they need to do with it? Due to the pandemic, which is something you asked, Quinn, all California registered voters are going to receive a mail ballot. If they're registered by October 19th, you'll receive that ballot in the mail. And so you still have the option to vote in person if you'd like to. So you kind of had two choices. You can fill out that mail ballot. You can return that to any polling location, in-person polling location. You can drop it in any blue US Post Office mailbox, and there's no postage necessary on that. Or you can also return it to any of the the mail ballot drop-off sites throughout the county, which you can find on the Registrar of Voters website. So there's lots of ways to return that mail ballot, or you can vote in person. In San Diego County and throughout California, in-person voting is actually going to be over the course of 4 days this year. So it's going to be October 31st through November 3rd. So it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November 3rd, Election Day. So there's lots of opportunities to turn out to vote and to do that by mail or in person, whichever. Do expect long lines. So if you're looking to vote in person, try to go early, try to go on that Saturday or Sunday, especially earlier in the day. And then finally, as far as if they're unsure about the process and what to do with the rest of the ballot besides presidential race, they can go to a number of tools online and find nonpartisan voter education guides. Two that I really like are ballotpedia.com and also ballotready.org. Both of those are nonpartisan websites that will walk you through each of the propositions on your ballot in your area. Again, you plug in your address, brings up your ballot for you, and tells you some details like what organizations have endorsed different things. And you can kind of make your decision which organizations you align with, and so how you think you feel about that proposition, so you feel ready when you go into the ballot box.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. So Andy, what is your voting plan? How are you voting?
Yeah, so I'm registered in California, so I'm getting it in the mail. I'm going to fill it out at home. So there's going to be a few ballot review parties that GSA is hosting for grad students on next Wednesday, the 14th and the 21st. So we're just going to go through all of the ballot measures and the local and state people running, and then I'll just drop it off probably at a ballot drop off. I think the one on campus is in Price Center. So I don't want to, I guess, overstress the Postal Service. So I'm going to drop it off in a ballot box.
Awesome. And then one last question for you, Heather, from our audience. Someone's asking, Hannah, should we change our location and re-register if we now live on campus?
Great question. If you did just move to campus, then that is your primary residence. That's where you'll be on election day. So you should re-register at that address to make sure that your mail ballot makes it to you efficiently. If it's trying to go to your home address, your primary address before moving to campus, could take a little bit, and you don't want to risk that time. So you should update your address to your on-campus address. And for our on-campus residents, there will be an in-person polling location at REMAC Arena.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, Heather and Andy, for participating. Back to you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you all. Thank you, Heather and Andy and Quinn. That was great information, and I hope everyone takes it seriously and shares their opinion and how they'd like to see our future as a community. With that, next up will be Dr. Sosha. I wanted to make sure I had my mask on because she's the one who's making sure we stay safe. I'm so excited to have her as a colleague. She's the Interim Director of Student Health and Wellbeing Services, and she's going to bring us up to speed on how successful move-in has been, our testing schedule, and for you guys who are really interested, how wastewater testing is working. So, Dr. Sosha?
Great. All right. And the Chancellor did a great job. He gave some of the information there. We tested a lot of students, undergrads that moved in over a 10-day period. 5,730 students came through the lines, and we only had 10 positives. So great job, everyone. We are continuing to test. Folks are now going into their second testing phase, both the undergraduates as well as the off-campus students and the graduate students. So lots of testing is going on. I thought I'd take a moment though and just do a quick reminder about this virus and some of its behaviors, because it is the underpinning for the concepts behind and the approach to our testing. I think most importantly, remember that this is a virus which is quite unusual in its behavior. You can shed virus and you may or may not have symptoms. That happens more often in young adults and our student population. So asymptomatic shedding is a situation where you feel just fine, but you are shedding virus and you are infectious. So that's an important thing to remember. Folks, the symptoms also are quite variable. They are can be very mild, a minor headache. They can be quite significant with a lot of fatigue, fever, cough, shortness of breath. You also are symptomatic. Before you're symptomatic, you will shed virus and you won't realize it. So there are periods in the asymptomatic entire phase, as well as for people who have symptoms, In the 2 days before they develop those symptoms, they are shedding a lot of virus and they are highly infectious. So that is one of the reasons why we believe in the asymptomatic testing in addition to symptomatic testing. The symptomatic phase is variable. For most people, it's a few days. For others, it lasts longer. After you've been developed symptoms or been exposed and are shedding virus and actively shedding virus, you eventually go to a recovery phase. And in the recovery period, while you may intermittently shed virus, you're not infectious. And we've developed enough information to be very comfortable about this. It has to do probably with the minimal amount of virus you're shedding, and our testing techniques are so specific, it picks up tiny, tiny amounts of virus. So in this recovery period, you're not infectious. So individuals who are coming out of isolation are safe to be in the community. So as we know, we've had a few students who have acquired this virus. They are returning into the community. Please welcome them. They are not infectious. Next slide. So what are ways we're trying to detect this virus? Very importantly, do your daily screening, because if you have any symptoms, we want you to get a test. Okay, we want you to get a test that same day. There are testing sites throughout San Diego, which are very convenient for those living off campus, as well as our location on campus at the Price Center. We're doing almost 1,000 students a day at the Price Center. It's become quite busy. The parking lot 102, which you were using last week or earlier in the month, that is now closed, no longer active. So Price Center is the central location on campus, as well as the health system sites. We also want individuals who are exposed to let us know about that, because if you've been exposed, you should go into quarantine. Quarantine covers that window from exposure to potential shedding. It lasts for up to 14 days. It's a long window. During quarantine, we also have folks get a check around day 5 to 7 after exposure to see if by chance they're shedding virus and they now need to move from quarantine to an isolation situation. And we also want to make sure if they inadvertently exposed others that we notify folks about that. So your daily screener will be your check that if you've been exposed, let folks know so we can give you good instructions. If you have symptoms, we want you to let us know as well. We want you to get in for testing. And if either of those are going on, you get the green thumb, you're good to go. We are beginning wastewater sampling. As you know, we had the one episode of a positivity in Labor Day, which picked up 2 employees who are asymptomatically shedding. We are deploying more samplers throughout campus. They will be focused on residential areas. We've got this mapped out. We know where the students are living. Should we get a positive signal, you may get a call to say, hey, we need to do some extra testing. So be on alert for that. That's another way to pick up shedding of virus when individuals aren't aware that they're shedding virus. And the other is the asymptomatic testing that we want all students to do. We want you to do it twice a month. You should do it no sooner than 12 days apart and no more than 16. We have changed the processes a little bit, and I think it's important to just take a moment to talk about the testing processes. We use a number of different platforms to test for COVID-19. Most of our testing we're doing is a PCR-based testing. We're actually looking for the virus. We do different platforms. They're all tested for their accuracy, and you can feel very comfortable. We have 2 major laboratories that we're using, the health system, which we've been using all along, and a new laboratory on campus called Excite. This is done by a research team that's very skilled, and it is a CLIA certified, so it is able to give clinical results. We've been modifying testing a little bit. Some of you may have been in phase 1, where we actually had you self-swab, mid-terminate, deeper into your nostril, a little bit uncomfortable. Some of you then may have also had provider testing, where the provider swabs mid-turbinate. We're moving to something called anterior nares. So it's the lower part of your nostril. It's a lot less, it's less uncomfortable. It's easier to do. You can self-administer, and that's a process that folks are using a lot around the country. It's not unique to us. You swab both of the lower parts of your nostrils for 15 seconds. So this can be done by a provider or can be self-administered. We've moved to the self-administered with a provider observing you process. That's been used a lot at the Price Center, and it's working very well. We are exploring the possibility of a totally self-administered test, which would be through saliva. We don't think that'll be up and running until November. So for now, you'll either have a provider sampling, or you will be self-administered with a provider observing you doing the testing. Next slide. Okay, very important that everybody signs up for your My Student Chart. This is how we're going to communicate information to you from Student Health Services. It's how you're going to get your results. It's also where you can document flu. If you had your flu vaccine somewhere else, you can put your documentation right into your My Chart. If we give you a flu vaccine, we'll be putting it in there as well. And this is where you'll get your COVID-19 test results. Make sure when you sign up for My Chart that you also put the app on your phone. Make sure you choose the right organization. You choose Student Health and not UC San Diego Health. That's way you stay connected, the My Student Pathway. You will use your AD login and password to access your information. Next slide. We can go to that. So please make sure you've activated your My Student Chart and you've also got the app on your phone. Next slide, please. Oh, I have a technical problem on my computer and I cannot see the slides. So that is, I've not had this ever happen in a Zoom before.
Dr. Sosha, this is Allison. It's the slide with the UC San Diego mobile app.
Yeah, so the next part, and I'm so sorry guys that happened, and many Zooms, not this the first time that's happened. So the mobile app, this is really helpful. So the process we're using with the Excite Lab uses a barcode to link you to your sample, okay? And this is a process we used. The students who did phase 1 also used the barcode and the app. So it's really important that you have the app, your UCSD app on your phone, because through that app, you will be scanning a barcode. And with that, your specimen will be identified at the lab. It's working very well. So if you arrive at the testing center with the UCSD app already loaded, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I think the next slide is going to talk about the things we want to make sure that you're doing, the symptom check. We want to make
perfect.
Sure,
Yep.
we want to make sure that you are doing your daily symptom check every day. We want to make sure that you've updated your My Student Chart and you've loaded the app on your phone. If you do all of those things, testing should be really easy. You should have access to testing whenever you need it. Whenever you need it for symptoms, whenever you need it for exposure, and also the twice-a-month asymptomatic testing. And the last part I wanted to talk about was just to remind you to consider the app for the CAL notification process. This is really a very new, innovative approach to get information to you very quickly. So in this process, if you were a student who became positive and got a positive result, the student health provider would talk to you and say, are you part of the app? And if you are, you'll get a token, which will then you enter a code on your phone. And with that, the people that have been around you for 15 minutes, 6 feet apart, get an exposure notification. From that exposure notification, should you get that ping, we want you to call Student Health. We're going to give you advice. We're going to talk to you about what you've been doing and give you further recommendations about whether you should quarantine and supplemental testing. So those are the things we are doing to try and keep you safe, and I'll be able to answer some questions later on. Thank you.
Can we go to the next slide and pause for a second, as she's already described this? So this is reminding people to do their symptom checker every day, and this is what you should look for, and it will look like when she does that, when you do it. Next slide, please. And so this is where we would love for you to make sure you try the California COVID Notify app. Sorry you're having technical difficulties, Dr. Sosha, but we'll make sure this information is received. Next slide, please. All right, with that, thank you, Dr. Sosha, for your information and sharing. We'll be back with you during Q&A. You can rest and join us shortly. Now we'll have the Dean of Grad Division, Jim Anthony. We'll give some brief updates on, tell us more about what it means being to TA in person.
Thank you
Dean
so
Anthony?
much. Appreciate it. Just some quick updates, and these will be here for you, and they're also on the website at the Graduate Division. As a reminder, there are regular updates every week, many updates posted in the Dean's updates, and there's the website right there. We are making enhanced investments in our professional development programming this year, and I want to encourage you to go to gradvantage.ucsd to see what's going on there. as well as our partnerships with the Career Center. Over the course of this year, we're going to continue enhancing our commitment to all sorts of conversations happening around graduate students in the future of their career, especially in these challenging times. So I want to remind you there are dissertation and thesis webinars, and our staff is available for remote appointments to help you with all of that. We had online orientation modules posted on Canvas during the Graduate Triton Weeks of Welcome, and it went really, really well. I want to make sure that all of you are aware of that as modules get added over the next several months in additional information. And also, if you hadn't had a chance to see Convocation, it was really, really well done. And so many people worked so hard on that, people who are here in this webinar, as well as others. And I really strongly encourage you to spend the time, those of you who are new students, undergrads or graduate students, to check out what was done with Convocation. It was really special this year. Next slide, please. As a quick reminder, those of you who have not yet done so, please do sign up for direct deposit for both employment and payroll, as well as for stipend and financial aid. There's two different paths there that you have to do. It's very, very important, especially during these times with pandemic, that you get paid, and we can try and make sure that that gets facilitated if you sign up for the direct deposit. Two last things, we're holding, as always, open office hours from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Next ones will be on November 6th and December 4th. Finally, we can't repeat this often enough. Those of you who are assigned as teaching assistants, remember that the campus view on this is if any of you is assigned to teach in an in-person session, for any reason, if that's not going to work for you, please work with your home department to find an alternative. Nobody is going to be required or compelled to teach in person as a TA or as an instructor. If you have any questions about that, you can always contact my office as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean Anthony. Those were some of the pre-questions that were submitted, is how to support our students during that time. Next, we will hear from Rich Milan, Director of UC San Diego Recreation, to tell us more about what is happening over recreation and how we can take advantage of what they offer. I know a lot of you want to get outside and play. So Rich, you turn on your camera and the floor is yours.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to quickly give you a brief kind of update on what we've been doing and a little bit of where we are now. Recreation quickly mobilized at the start of this pandemic and kind of started a new virtual playground. And that launched on the 25th and has been running ever since. Everything from esports to kids programming for staff, faculty, kids, and building Legos, to cooking, to personal training, to all sorts of personal classes, Zumba, yoga, and otherwise. And we've just been building that out throughout our time. Next slide. And now here in fall, we have a really robust library of either on-demand activities or live content. So please, get onto our website, all sorts of different Zoom classes, different personal wellness programs. So if you really want something that really speaks to you, I would really say take the time to sign up for one of the personal wellness programs where you'll get a health coach and really get some personalized kind of wellness assistance throughout the quarter. We're also going to have dietitian and trainer Q&A sessions, so you can either be cooking at home and cooking healthy, also doing some personal training. Our esports gaming leagues are growing rapidly on campus. We're also in the middle of just finalizing a new home for esports. It'll open for winter quarter, and we hope to have capacity after the COVID passes. But we're really excited about the new esports gaming. Get Up Tritons, if you're on our website, I would highly recommend anyone on this call signing up for Get Up Tritons. It's a notification you get once a day just to get out of your chair, do some stretching, It's a personalized trainer that's going to share with you, how to be active while we might be stuck at home. And then there's always Learn at Lunch workshop series throughout. Next slide. And now, we've moved to the outdoor environment, and we've been really excited since early July. Our track and our fields have been available. We've been doing reserved lap swimming at Canyon View Pool. Been very popular. One person per lane, you get your hour to swim. Then we kind of clean everything up and get it ready for the next group of reservations. Tennis has also been approved on campus, so our tennis courts are open. And then there's plenty of running and walking all over campus. Plus, for those that surf, we do have Black's Beach, and it's just fantastic to get out into the ocean. We've been very fortunate. I thank, Chip and Angela and those involved. But we are now and have started outdoor activity. And that activity went online starting this Monday. It actually started on the 5th. We've had well over 100 students take part, and we're just going to keep growing. So again, go onto our website. You can reserve your time. Everything from yoga to spin class. We've moved our bikes outdoors, so we have an outdoor spin class, Zumba, boot camps. We'll start some sport drills and skills. But these are all, some really good ways to be active. You stay distanced, you stay masked throughout all of our work. But it's a great way to stay active, get out of your room, get outdoors. Climate's been great. And we're just really excited that the campus allowed us to do this. And the staff is really excited, and our instructors would love to see you in the outdoor environment getting active. Next. Oh, I think that's it.
Well, Rich, you can stay with us. Thank you so much for that update, as all of us have been looking for creative ways to keep our bodies in shape and our minds healthy. So I appreciate that. During registration, all attendees had an opportunity to submit questions for panelists to answer. So can panelists start to turn on their cameras? We have selected some of the most popular questions for the panel today. If you have questions now, I would like to remind you, you can submit them through the Q&A chat box. Although we may not be able to answer all of your questions today, we will do our best to answer the questions we see and the FAQs posted in Return to Learn website after the webinar. So whatever we don't answer, we'll capture there, and we're excited. Now all my panelists, I think, have turned on their cameras, and we have a number of questions in the queue. I think we're starting off with Kimberly and Quinn. Who's asking our first question? There we go, Kimberly.
I get to ask our first question. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Jing Tran. I am your AS president this year. And our first question goes to VC Satterlund. So what will campus look like during winter and spring quarter? And when will we know more information?
So this is a fair question, and I wish I could answer it in full. So please extend the grace of the pandemic to me in this moment. So we anticipate that winter and spring, particularly winter, will look quite a bit like fall, but we're not really going to be able to answer that question for a couple more weeks. We would like to be able to provide an update at the end of this month, because we know students need to make plans for housing, for courses, for employment. We know there's a lot riding on having this information as soon as possible.
Thank you, VC Satterlund. So our next question is going to AVC Mahaffey. So a lot of students are interested on how they can socialize on campus. So what are the rules that we're going to have in place for gatherings? And is there kind of some system of enforcement to make sure that students will follow the rules?
Yeah, great question. So currently we're still following the public health order that stipulates that a gathering or a social opportunity is really anything more than one person. So I know there's been a lot of confusion, but we are also working on trying to work with the county to be able to develop a plan that will allow us to go up to 5 people in a small social opportunity. So hopefully we'll be able to do that with the county. Things have been going really well on campus, and so that has been to our advantage. We just have to keep it up, and hopefully we'll have some new news next week is our goal. But for now, it's one person. Really, more than one person is considered, a gathering, and is not allowed at this moment. And we also have a progressive disciplinary system in place, but we're really focused on education and helping students be aware of what the rules are, more than any kind of, serious enforcement and punishment. We want students to just understand what the policies and the rules are, and pay attention to all of the announcements and the notifications that we are trying to communicate.
That's awesome, Patty. You know what? Could someone let us know a little more about the Triton Health Ambassadors? I mean, we're talking about enforcement and punishment, but you actually get rewarded for doing the right thing. So I actually read somewhere that we were handing out gift cards to students who were doing the right thing. Could someone elaborate on that?
I'd be happy to take that, but Rich, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. Yeah, the Triton Health Ambassadors are working 6 different zones on campus, and we have been working with them, and they are carrying around Starbucks gift cards. And when they see people doing, good work within this space, they are rewarding folks with Starbucks gift cards.
There we go. So we're not punishing, but we are rewarding. Always a good positive twist to everything, right? So our next question goes to Director Severson. What protocol will be used for students that leave campus and come back? Will they need to isolate and be retested when they come back?
Excellent question. I'm glad somebody asked that so we can share a little bit more about it. We understand that students and residents that are living on campus are going to want or have the need to leave campus for a variety of personal reasons. So we have a protocol for folks to follow. For anyone leaving for greater than 18 hours, we're asking you to complete a notification form that's available via the housing portal. So completing this form indicates when you intend to leave and when you intend to come back. It also generates an email to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. So there isn't an extra step that you need to take in order to notify anybody else. So the question was about, do you need to isolate? So when students are away from campus, you should mask at all times, maintain physical distance, and continue to complete the daily symptom screener. So when you come back, then we need you to sequester for 14 days, which is different than isolation. Sequestration means wearing a face covering within your residential unit, except when you're in your personal bedroom or in the shower, and also maintaining physical distance within your residential unit. And we're asking for you to do this in order to protect you and also to protect your apartment and suite mates. It's kind of a reset from a move into leaving, then coming back again. So it does not mean going into isolation housing. So you can participate this way in your residential unit. Students in sequestration can attend in-person classes as well as other approved in-person campus activities. And we are requesting that you undergo additional testing for SARS-CoV-2 on days 5 and 10 after returning to campus by using the self-scheduling link. Just another point to reiterate, students are required to complete the daily symptom screener regardless of your location. So if you're on campus living with us, you need to do that daily. If you take a trip off of campus, you need to do that wherever you are. Hope that answers your question. Thanks.
So Jana, the magic number is 18 hours.
Yes.
And over. If you're leaving campus, then okay, 18. Got that.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so our next question is for Dr. Shosha, which is, I think this is a great question, given the outbreaks that have happened at other schools. Why is it that UCSD is going to be able to contain this when other universities have failed to do so?
I think we're going to be in a better position because we've learned from other places. We've tightened up a lot of our processes, and we have deep redundancy in our process. We're not relying on one thing. We're relying on lots of different testing, both the asymptomatic, the waste, as well as the symptomatic testing. We're getting very rapid results. Our students are super responsive. They're letting us know. They've been helpful in identifying exposure so other students can go into quarantine in case they've been exposed, because not everyone who's exposed will become symptomatic or will shed virus, but a significant number will. Therefore, quarantine is the process which takes you out of the community. And in quarantine, unlike sequestration, which Janet just nicely explained, you really should stay in your residential space, whether you're off campus or on campus and in your bedroom. And we move you actually, if you're on campus, we'll move you to quarantine housing because there's a chance you'll start to shed virus. And then you can't go to classes. So I think that we're very quickly identifying students who have the virus. We give them good support. They recover, and then they're back in the community. We identify contacts very quickly. We get them into exposure. We get them into quarantine. So those things keep the viral spread down. So it's the rapid identification of individuals. It's the quarantine process for those that have been exposed. Those layers will keep the viral spread down. The less virus we have, the less chance somebody's exposed, the less chance we're going to have people that are infected. So all those things together are going to keep the viral activity on campus really low. That's what we're hoping.
Awesome. So just to follow up on something you mentioned earlier, which was the wastewater testing, Anna had asked a question about what housing areas is going to have the wastewater testing. Are we planning to spread it across campus and grad housing?
Right now, there are some they're just putting the places in. And so I'm not 100% sure exactly which buildings. I have a sense, but not all of them in detail. They're going to be adding more and more layers. We are learning more about the testing. And we're going to be doing some sequencing, gene sequencing, actually, of the viral sample, so we can make sure that we're picking up and matching where the shedding is coming on the waste signal from the individual. So there's a lot more to learn about this waste testing. It's a new technology.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sosha. Our next question is for our angel, ABC Jensen. This question has come up a lot, and students really want to know the answer to this. I've had lots of conversations, and I know we've had lots of conversations about this too. And there seems like there's a lot of confusion or misunderstanding amongst students about what synchronous attendance means, what required means, what mandatory means. So could you explain a little bit more about, whether synchronous attendance is allowed and not allowed, required? Are synchronous attendance, are professors allowed to require synchronous attendance? And if they do, what are the alternatives to it if a student can't make it?
So thank you for the question. And you're right, it's a question that's coming up a lot. There are a handful of classes that require synchronous attendance, but that's a handful of classes, literally fewer than 12. If you're in one of those, you should have been told that that was an expectation or requirement. And if you're in doubt, your advisor should be able to point out which classes those are. They're also listed on the registration FAQ. If you're not in one of those classes, the expectation is that you will be accommodated asynchronously. That means that you can't be required to be in class at a given time. You cannot be required to turn your camera on during class time. Instructors are supposed to post videos or materials of the class so that you can complete the class, follow along at your own time when you have the ability to do so. The only wrinkle there is when it comes to exams or final exams, especially where there's a tight window and we are trying to make sure that we avoid conflicts with other classes and other commitments. But for instance, for assignments or in-class activities, Instructors can encourage you to participate synchronously. So for instance, it's okay for an instructor to say, we're going to give 5 points to students who participate in this live discussion or debate, but there needs to be an alternative assignment for students who cannot be there or cannot participate live.
Thank you so much, Carlos. So I think to make it simpler, if something is required synchronously, there needs to be given the same opportunity to the students who cannot attend synchronously. Is that right?
There needs to be an opportunity for an equal number of points. It cannot necessarily be the same activity. So for instance, if it's a debate, you can't have an alternate debate around the clock. But you could, for instance, be asked to provide a summary of the debate or to find additional points and provide those in a write-up or something. But you should have the opportunity to earn the same number of points.
Thank you so much. And I know a lot of students are wondering, if my professor is, breaking the rules or violating these policies, then where can I reach out to? Dr. Figueroa, the GSA president, Quinn, and myself are actually working on a form that will help alleviate that and really funnel down the cases that actually need to be brought up to the higher up.
And if I may, on that point, this is a very significant change from how we're doing things. Just as there's confusion among students, there's confusion among faculty too. And so I would encourage everyone to approach this from a dialogue. Talk to your professor, say, this is what we've heard. Can you accommodate? Most faculty are not trying to do this maliciously. It's simply we're struggling to get the message out to everywhere.
Totally agree. Well, on the same topic of academics, I'm going to turn to Dean Anthony. There's a lot of graduate students who are pursuing performing arts degrees, music, theater, dance, for whom performances are part of their degree requirement. So how are we accommodating that? And are we using any outdoor spaces for that?
Thanks for the question, Quinn. And nothing is as essential right now to all of these entities that do arts-based performances as trying to answer this question. The fact of the matter is there's an actual campus committee that's been convened to look at this very set of issues. And we might imagine there's a whole host of considerations that go beyond just UC San Diego making a simple decision to put performances outdoors. There's also other entities that we collaborate with, such as Art Power and the La Jolla Playhouse, just to name a couple. So we have to wait for this committee to do its work and to come up with its recommendations. And as soon as they do that, all of us will be informed about what the campus plan is.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much. So kind of pivoting a bit back to student behavior and how we can get our students to be involved in all of this. I know, Dr. Shosha, you wanted to add a bit more on how we're going to really drive up the success of our campus.
Yeah, thanks, Quinn. Thanks for letting me add a little more. I think the most important thing, we talked about the fancy technology and the testing and the wastewater and everything, but it's going to be the behaviors that it's going to be the most important thing to stop this virus. There is no question that the masking and the distancing makes a huge difference in viral transmission. And so the good behavior, the attention to masking, the distancing is going to make the difference more than all the testing, I think. And we're seeing great uptake by the student body, by the faculty, by the staff, by everybody. And so appreciating masking, appreciating distancing, that is going to carry us more as much as or comparable to the testing. So I wanted to really give kudos to everybody for the good work they're doing. I think it's making a huge, huge difference. Remember when you're eating to keep that distance as well. That seems to be a real easy slip up for folks to get a little too close. The masks are down and then we get exposures. So keep your mask on when you are eating, get that extra 6 feet, 7, 8, 9, nothing wrong with a little extra in there. So your behaviors are going to make this successful. So
6, 7, 8, or 9. Love that. This next question is for Dean Mallory. She actually taught us all how to use filters on Zoom. I was just telling everyone here, it feels like this is like the professional version of Snapchat filters. So thank you for that. I think this is the appropriate question for you. So this is coming from a first year. What are ways we can stay connected and feel like we're still a part of a community while we're living in COVID times where everything is online, virtual, through Zoom? How can we stay connected still?
Yeah, so, it definitely is going to require taking a little bit of a leap of faith. We've been working really, really hard as a university to try to create every opportunity that we normally have on campus for students to be able to engage through COVID. So whether they're on campus, whether they're somewhere else in the state or somewhere else in the world. So the Virtual Student Union is a great resource. Definitely check that out. All of the undergraduate colleges have weekly newsletters that we send out where we're going to be pushing out opportunities and ways to get involved. So make sure to check your email, read through that, see what's there. I know it's hard, right? Because we're all over Zoom. We're tired of being online, but that's going to be our primary way to engage and to find community. We also have some great resources. Ebony will be happy. I'm going to plug Triton Tools and Tidbits. I can't say it. That's a student produced podcast that comes out every few weeks. And it talks about things like how do you engage and build community. So, and if you're getting stuck, reach out to staff in your college, reach out to your Dean of Student Affairs. I promise we're not scary. We're here to help you navigate and figure that out.
Yes, and reach out to your AS and GSA, of course. We're also here to plan events for you. So this next question is for Rich. I know that Recreation has been working really hard to provide all these opportunities. Obviously, we are having to go outdoors and virtual, but I know a lot of students are interested in going back inside in the gyms. So I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about the challenges that poses and what Recreation has done to kind of have work around that.
Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, the indoor environment, if you've been following this throughout, kind of bars and gyms and restaurants have kind of been put together. And with that, we've been spending a lot of time preparing the building. We've taken activity rooms and we've moved a lot of cardio equipment so we can really create good distance space. We've put together new cleaning protocols throughout the spaces. And at this point in time, we're training staff to be prepared. And then we just work with campus. And yes, as a recreation department, we are absolutely excited when we'll get to open our doors to the indoors. At the same time, health and safety, which is part of wellness and recreation, is our priority. So we're really ramping up the outdoor opportunities. We're actually going to be opening the pool at the graduate student housing on Saturday. We got approval from campus, so we're really excited to be able to bring that amenity back online. It's been great working with HDH to create that space that we can do that. We're also looking actually and working with grad students on maybe a little childcare opportunity where we can have some camp outdoors. But again, we're prepared to open and get the indoor environment going. But again, health, safety, and working with campus is the most important when you think about wellness. So again, please use our website, take advantage of the outdoor classes, the personal wellness. You can get really one-on-one kind of wellness counseling throughout the quarter and staying active. And then we're going to be ready with you as soon as they want to open the doors. When we do, you'll be reserving time. And there will be a protocol because capacity will be at a smaller percentage than we're all used to. You will need to mask while you're indoors. So we have all that coming. And then I can share, and it won't be here till winter quarter, but we are moving forward with a project. We're putting a new surface out on one of the basketball courts near main gym. And come first week of winter quarter, we will have about 5,000 square feet of outdoor fitness space that'll be ready to go. And that'll be another great addition. And with our climate, we think will be used even beyond COVID. It'll be a great new addition to campus. But again, stay tuned on the website. And yeah, we hope to be inviting you soon.
That's awesome. So what you're telling me is if I sign up to go to the gym, I actually have to show up to the gym now instead of pretend like I'm not.
When you bring, thank you. That's a great point. We are going to put something in there that, yeah, when you sign up, we will need to see you. And if you miss a few times, then we might not let you sign up for a few days. But yes, there is a little bit more skin in the game when you're reserving your space.
All right.
I also thought you were going to say that the basketball courts were going to be for basketball, but I accept your answer as well.
That sport has a lot of contact. We're working to see how we can do a skills and drills, but full games will be a little more down the road.
Oh man, I was so ready to score a touchdown in basketball. Kidding. I know the difference between the sports, but you know, while you're waiting for the gyms to open back up and for recreation activities, you know, if you're in San Diego and you're on campus, the beach is your backyard. Go out for a stroll, go for a hike, make sure you hike down to the right beach. You don't want to end up at one that you didn't know about. But this next question is for Dean Moore. Dean Moore has been, played a tremendous part last quarter in getting the deadline for the grading option change for pass no pass to be extended. So Dean Moore, this question is about how faculty are being supported during this time, during this transition to online learning. I think this stems from, some of us are using Zoom for the first time and we're still learning how to share screen, and we're learning how to use filters every day. So how are faculty being supported? Are they getting some kind of lesson? And the follow-up question to that is, are there any guidelines that faculty have to follow?
Great questions. Thank you very much, Kimberly. So the Teaching and Learning Commons is a wonderful resource for both students and for faculty. So as the name suggests, it supports learning and it supports teaching. The Center for Digital Teaching has been, which is part of the Teaching and Learning Commons, has been working with faculty throughout this period in order to assist them in moving to the online environment. And so there's a great website that's been developed. It's called Keep Teaching at ucsd.edu. And it gives a lot of pointers to faculty about how to structure their remote classes, how to use Canvas. It talks about the difference between synchronous instruction and asynchronous instruction. These are terms that we never actually even thought about 6 months ago. And so this is all very new for faculty. And I think, what's particularly important is that students and faculty come together as a community to work on this together, because this is new for students and it's new for faculty. The Academic Senate has been a great partner in all of this. So one of the things that normally happens is that if you have a remote course, that remote course has to get a specific designation by the Academic Senate. There has to be a course proposal for every course that's delivered in a remote fashion. And it goes through a fairly rigorous vetting process by the Academic Senate. Well, the Academic Senate waived that process for all courses, first for spring quarter, then for summer, and now they've extended that through summer 2021. Not that we'll necessarily need to do that for summer, up all the way till summer 2021, but at least we now have the Senate approval to do that. The Senate also came together and met with some of the administrators and came up with a message to faculty talking about some of the challenges that students are facing, so that faculty are aware of some of these challenges. Many of these challenges came out of a committee that was convened at the end of spring quarter, where it's very clear that some students have challenges with respect to synchronous instruction, maybe because of time zones, but also maybe because of their Wi-Fi, how much Wi-Fi they have, or maybe because of the home environment, because of some of the other commitments that they have in their home environment. So it may be that there's a number of reasons why students may not be able to participate synchronously all the time. And then So some of these challenges were then conveyed to the faculty in a message that was signed by the Senate and also signed by me and also by Dean Antony. And part of this was to try to encourage a dialogue between students and faculty. Now, your other question, what are some of the requirements? I think we've already touched on that. The biggest one is synchronous versus asynchronous. And I field a lot of requests from students where they have concerns that maybe a course is requiring synchronous participation. What I do when I get that request, I simply send it to the chair of the department without prejudice, because sometimes maybe there is an asynchronous option that wasn't, either was not clear or maybe the student just didn't notice it. And they have a conversation with the instructor, and that seems to get resolved within hours. So that's once you have your web page up, that will be an easy thing to manage. But beyond that, we're also going to be working on some guidance for faculty on how to structure exams. In this remote environment, there are a number of ways that you can structure exams, and many of them are different from the way that exams had been conducted in the past. And we had some of that on the Keep Teaching website, and in the Commons also had some advice about that in spring quarter. We're going to be looking at that again because it's an evolving situation. So those are some of the things where there are a number of things in play.
Thank you so much. So the next question, kind of along those lines of, on one side, we're supporting the faculty, but what are we doing to help support the students? I'm going to go to AVC Figueroa, who's our AVC of Student Retention and Success. So what are some of the things that we're doing to help students academically, but also with student groups and clubs on campus?
Thank you, Quinn. And so I think adding to a little bit of what has already been shared, a great way to build community is through seeking academic support, and student retention and success, along with the Commons, have a lot of opportunities for students to come in virtually and get support in tutoring, supplemental instruction, peer mentors, so peer leaders who are helping you navigate UC San Diego, get involved and find the resources that you need. And so we are actively providing academic workshops and tutoring. This is all happening virtually, and our information is online. I will drop in our websites in the chat, so you can schedule appointments to go ahead and schedule your one-on-one appointments or tutoring and mentoring sessions. And it's also a great way to really make connections with your peers. So folks that maybe are in your same class, you maybe can seek tutoring or meet with a mentor together, right? And again, you're getting to meet some of the other students that are already leaders on our campus who can share a little bit about their experience here as well. And with regards to student clubs and organizations, we have a very active student life. The Virtual Student Union is a great place where you want to start off. I know that was shared through the chat, and happy to drop that in again. But also, and I actually am going to turn it over to AVC Mahaffey, who will be also sharing a little bit about our virtual student organization fair that's scheduled coming up. So I'll turn it over to her so she can share a little bit more about that.
Thank you, AVC Figueroa. Appreciate that. So bottom line, UC San Diego is your community, and we want you to keep engaging. And so we have lots of opportunities to help you keep doing that. And we're always open to any suggestions that you have for ways that we can enhance our online community. But 6th week, there's going to be a student org fair, and you'll be getting more information about that. But put that on your calendars, and it'll be announced in a lot of different ways, and definitely on the Virtual Student Union. And we've got recruitment open now for Greek Life. And Triton Fest has got a lot of programs planned as well. They have a magic show on Friday night. We've got a stand up and vote comedy show with Mike Birbiglio. I think I said his name right. That's happening next week. And then Our Power is doing a comedy show with Christina Wong, which will be free to all students, staff, and faculty. So definitely want to keep you engaged, active in your classes and active outside your classes. And that's, that's our number one goal. And keeping you safe. That's also a big goal.
All right, this next question is probably the question of the school year. It's a big one, and this goes to Alysson. I don't know if you're ready for this. All right. Will there be any refunds in tuition based on the loss of educational opportunities from learning being mostly online this quarter?
So we wanted to make sure that we answered this question live. So thank you, Sam, for posting it. All of our tuition and fees are set at the UC Office of the President by the Regent. So that's one thing that's important to note. And we have also understood the challenges of the remote learning environment. It's not what our students had hoped to be able to participate in this fall or in the prior summer or spring sessions. It's important to note that we are doing our absolute best to provide experiences outside of the classroom through remote work, remote internships, through remote research or on-site research and labs or on-site opportunities for employment to ensure that you can continue to progress towards your degree in a way that prepares you for post-college success. But we recognize that it's not what our students were hoping for. We'll continue to do everything in our power to bring our students back on site when it's safe to do that. But please keep in mind that fees and tuition are set at the UC Office of the President, and they have the final authority over how we proceed in that regard moving forward. So thank you for your understanding. I know it's disappointing.
Thank you so much for that question or for that answer. So this question is related to labs and getting some hands-on experience. So I think it's both a question to APC Jensen, but also to Dean Antony. So I don't know how you guys want to split it, but for undergrads who are doing online labs, what is that experience going to be like? Have you talked to the faculty who've been coordinating that? And then for Dean Antony, for graduate students who require lab rotations, how is that looking like, especially given the density requirements on campus? I don't know which one of you want to take it first.
Well, I can speak to the graduate side of things. All of the divisional deans who have laboratories, both wet labs and otherwise, are engaged in regular conversations with their department chairs and faculty about how to provide an experience for graduate students and professional students who need access to labs. There's also a lot of coordination going on with our Vice Chancellor for Research's office to make sure that we are complying with the county's orders on density for campus, and labs fall into that county order. So right now, there definitely is a plan in place. The deans are working very closely with PIs and with their department chairs to incorporate graduate students into lab spaces, keeping compliant with county expectations about lab density, and making sure that all of that is written into PI's research plans. So my best recommendation is if any graduate student has a specific question about access to labs, they should talk to their department in their home program of study because each of them has a specific plan for that.
And on the undergraduate side, I will say labs have been one of the most challenging things for us to try to work out because of the constraints on density. Every department is looking at what a good, solid educational experience can look like. I know that some departments are shipping out kits to students. I believe ECE is doing that. And so for some of their classes, they're shipping out little kits and you can do the activities at home. Other departments and programs have rushed to redesign labs to be virtual and fully online. Others, again, are planning for the possibility of doing some in-person experiences when conditions allow, maybe even over spring break. So these are all different kinds of strategies. Everyone's trying to make sure that students will have access to the kinds of hands-on experience that they need as they go out and prepare for the job market.
All right, thank you so much. Allison, I said the last question was a big question, but I think this comes in a very, very, very close second. The real question is, when is Target opening? We need our shampoo.
You know what? Patty knows the answer when Target's opening, because I don't. Dr. Mahaffey?
We believe Target is opening October 28th, 25th to the 28th is the timeline that we're working with right now. We believe that's when they'll open.
We heard something about a soft opening.
It's all going to be a soft opening.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, all our panelists. Back to you, Dr. Williams.
Yeah, on that note, thank you all panelists. That was great information. Thank you for joining us, whether live or in recording. We've run out of time, but we really appreciate all your questions and your energy. Please visit returntolearn.ucsd to see the recording, to also get your questions answered, and share with friends who were not able to attend this evening, right? I'd like to thank all of our presenters for sharing their time and information with us today, their laughter and jokes as well, filters, everything. As you can tell, we work together very closely to create a community that works for you and try to solve these big problems together. I thank you for attending. UC San Diego students, thank you. Of course, without you, this wouldn't matter. Next week, UC San Diego's Executive Vice Chancellor for our Academic Senate Chair will be hosting a town hall for faculty. We plan to continue holding these town halls on a regular basis, so please visit returntolearn.ucsd.edu for more information. And if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see here, feel free to reach out to your leadership who were just moderating our Q&A, Quinn for the GSA and Kimberly for our AS, Associated Students and Graduate Student Associations. And thank you for being here. Consider downloading our app, right? California COVID Notify. Thank you. Have a good evening.